Rev David Torres. Would you please give him an applause and welcome him? And his lovely wife, Susan Torres. Y'all all know them. They've been here before. Reverend David has spoken for us before. What you might not know is he was ordained by the Unity School of Christianity in 1997. He served as chaplain for the Men of Unity and served Unity churches in Auburn and Sunrise, California, Coos Bay, Oregon, Louisville, Kentucky, Evansville, Indiana, and retired from Unity in Cookeville, Tennessee in January 2018. And they couldn't wait to move to our community to retire here. Aren't we blessed? He and wife Susan now live in Pawleys Island, South Carolina, and love our Unity Myrtle Beach community. Isn't that great? And I did want to say that I saw with my own two eyes, David and I spoke for David when he was in Coos Bay, Oregon, at a building that you all rented. And then a few years later, we spoke at the Coos Bay building that David and his team refurbished, an old historic building, church building in Coos Bay, Oregon. So we got to speak there and see that wonderful transition that your community made with that. So this fella knows what it takes, the work that's involved to do all that's required to create church. So we're glad you're here today. His topic is, what do you think? And David is going to lead us in our meditation after our next song and then our message. Thank you.
Wonderful. What a great band we have, right? So it's really good for me to be back again, be in your presence again. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be here. And this morning I want meditation to be kind of a mindfulness practice. And it's a little bit different, but I think you'll enjoy it. So let's all start out by just taking a nice, deep, full breath in. We'll hold it to the count of 2, 1 and a 2, and release it fully and completely. Let's do that 2 more times. All the way in. Hold. 1 and a 2, and release. Right. 1 more time. All the way in. Hold. 1 and 2, and release. All right. Now I invite you to get comfortable in your chairs And just breathe normally with your own natural rhythm. Don't force anything. Just be comfortable and relaxed. And I want you to use the power of your imagination, or your third eye. And I want you to see in your mind's eye the number 3. Let it be soft. Let it be backlit. Let it be glowing. And number 3. Well, let this number 3 represent this three-dimensional world that we live in. This physical world that we live in. Alive, alert. And when you're ready, on the next exhale, just see the number 3 slowly fade away and disappear. And on your next inhale, see the number 2. Again, it's backlit, it's glowing, it's soft, it's comforting and relaxing. We'll just let the number 2 represent a deeper awareness, a deeper consciousness, a place of relaxation, a place of peace. And just be there and feel that right now. And when you're ready on your next exhalation, see the number 2 slowly fade away and disappear. And our next inhale, see the number 1. Again, it's glowing. And it's lit. And it's soft. And we let the number 1 represent that sacred presence, that sacred awareness, that oneness with God. Let that 1 represent oneness. Oneness with love, oneness with each other, oneness with Holy Spirit, oneness with the Christ consciousness. And we'll let this number 1 stay in our mind's eye. We'll use it as a focal point to just relax, just let go. And as thoughts come in, just notice them. Just be aware of them. Don't be attached to them. Don't resist them. Just let them come in. And the next time you exhale, let them fade away and disappear. And another thought will come in, and just acknowledge it as a thought. Don't give it any energy. Don't resist it in any way. Just let it fade away and disappear. And each time you observe a thought, let that be your practice. Just acknowledge it as a thought and let it go. And I'll invite you now in the stillness and the quiet of this sacred holy place to just continue this process for a few moments in the stillness and in the silence. And I'll invite everyone to take another nice deep breath. Fully fill your lungs. and let it go. And if you're still able to see that number one, and you still see it as the presence of God, our oneness with God, in your next exhale, let the number one fade away and disappear. And in your next inhale, see the number two. It's that deeper, relaxed, conscious space. And when you're ready, in your next exhale, let it fade away and disappear. And on your next inhale, see the number three, which represents our physical world, this three-dimensional world. Allow your awareness to come back. Know where you are. When you're ready, open your eyes. We'll take one last breath together. And fully release and let go. Now that's simply called mindfulness. Mindfulness of God's presence. Some people call it practicing the presence. Some people call it practicing that God consciousness or the Christ consciousness. So just let it be. And if you practice this, it's real easy. If you practice it 2 or 3 times a day during the week, you're going to find a closer connection to this higher power, this God concept that we all are aware of. And while I'm mentioning that, let me just say, you don't have to think the way I think or believe the way I believe or worship the way I worship. The important thing is that you have your own conscious connection with God as you understand God to be. And if you do this practice for a little while, you'll get good at it. It'll be real easy. And you'll have a closer connection, a closer conscious contact with God. You believe it? What do you think?
Yes. Good title for your talk.
So I was going to talk to you today about what do you think? And that kind of directs us right away, you know, when you're thinking, what do you think? Kind of directs us to the third unity spiritual principle. Who knows what that is? Not you. Anybody? A third unity spiritual principle? Okay, who knows the first one? God is. There's only one power, one presence active in my life and in the universe. God the good, omnipotent, right? So it's God is. And the second one is I am. As a child of God, I inherit the energy. I inherit God's love. I inherit the faculties of God that we recognize as beauty and peace and love. And I'm able to express that, the I am. And what's the third one now? I create. I call it I think. I think. It's kind of like thoughts held in mind, produce after their kind. Only it's not like if I have joyful thoughts, I'll have more joyful thoughts. It's more like when I have joyful thoughts, they'll manifest in my life experience as joy. There's a big difference there. But, so we think, another way of saying it is, we get to co-create, that's what you were saying, create. We get to co-create with God consciousness, with that Christ consciousness, how we want to live our lives, how we want to think. What kind of thoughts do we hold in our mind? What kind of thoughts do you hold in your mind? And you know, the same thing I said about joy applies the other way too. Anger and hateful thoughts produce after their kind. Negative thoughts produce after their kind. And then we get to co-create with God a lesser experience of what God has in store for us, and has planned for us, and has allowed for us to experience and to enjoy, to celebrate. Does that make sense? So as much as I like Unity's third spiritual principle, I need to know for myself, and maybe you do too, but I need to know for myself that there's more to it than that. There's more to it, because when I get into my stinking thinking, anybody know what that is? when I get into my stinking thinking, I'm like, oh man, is this what I want to co-create? Is this what I really want to bring into my reality? So here's what Paul suggested that we think about. This is in his letter to Philippians, chapter 4, verse 8. He says, finally, beloved, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence and if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Amen?
Amen.
Think about these things. But sometimes in today's world, it's a little difficult to bring ourselves to just think along those lines. We get caught up in this three-dimensional world. We get caught up in all the things going on. And we get distracted in so many ways. And it's hard to bring ourselves back. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
But it's a practice. It's a practice if you choose to practice it. And a discovery for me was that there really is a higher consciousness. There really is another energy going on in this world and in my life that affects me far greater than that small, scared, ego voice that says, you're not enough, you're not worthy, there's not enough to go around, who do you think you are? Anybody know that voice? Anybody had those thoughts? So I want to tell you this little story. I was working in California, and I took a lunch break. I got into my little Dodge pickup truck, and I drove out the gate, aerospace plant, and was going up the highway to get lunch, and I was following this big, called a double belly dump truck. I don't know if you can picture that, but it's an 18-wheeler type front with a hook with a big belly dump loader, and then there's another tow bar type thing, hitch, and then the second one, the double belly truck. And I wasn't thinking anything of it, and I was looking up ahead, and on Sunrise Boulevard, I saw the light turn orange. And I thought, wow, he's not even hitting his brakes. He's going to go through that red light. And then I saw the red light. I says, dang, he's not even trying to slow down. He's just going right through. And sure enough, you see, there was one, he was going this way. There was a truck coming this way, but there was another SUV that was going to make a right-hand turn. And the SUV couldn't see the truck coming because this truck was going to make a left and was blocking their view. And that SUV just went right out there, and that truck just hit him. And I'm watching this whole thing take place, and I'm seeing the guy swerve out of the way, and he's overcorrected, and he swerved this way, and then I saw the rear belly dump tip over, and sparks flying all over the place. It was crazy. It was surreal. And of course, I pulled over and I parked my car on this side of the street. And this is a very huge intersection. There's like 2 lanes going that way, a turn lane here, a turn lane there, same on the other side, same going this way. A great big huge intersection. And I saw people all over the place, stopping traffic, picking up bits and pieces, checking here, checking there. And I looked across the street to the driver of the SUV, and there was a lady in there, and her driver's door was missing. And there's nobody attending to her or checking on her, and I just knew inside of me I needed to go and just check on her, just be with her. So here come the thoughts in my head. Who do you think you are? You don't know first aid. You don't know if you're going to make the situation worse or better. You don't know what you're going to see. Who do you think you are? Don't go over there. You're crazy. You're crazy. Does that make sense? All the time, that voice was yelling at me and screaming at me. Guess what I was doing? And sometimes a little trot, sometimes a little run, because it was, like I said, a big intersection. I wanted to get there. And I finally got there, and of course I asked the stupid question that everybody asks, right? Are you okay? And she looked up at me and she said, "Am I bleeding?" So I stick my head into the SUV and I look her over and give her once over, and I don't see any blood. I don't see anything. You know, it's just unusual that the door is missing and the car's a little caved in. And I said, "I don't see any blood." And I could see the relief in her eyes, and she wanted to unbuckle her belt and get out. And I thought, oh my God. Maybe we should just wait. And I put my arm on her shoulder, not to restrain her, but just to make my presence known. And I grabbed one of her hands and I said, "Please just wait until the professionals get here. Let them check you out. We don't know what's happened. Let's just play it safe. I'll stay right here with you and I'll hold your hand until they get here." And that wasn't so hard, was it? That was pretty easy, wasn't it? But you could see all that I went through to get there. You could see the resistance that I had to shut off that voice and shut out those thoughts. And these thoughts were intensified at that moment, but they've always been there. My whole life they had been there. I've always felt like, who do I think I am? You know, I've always had a low sense of self-esteem. I always felt inadequate compared to others. I always had the sense of, I'm not enough. Anybody? So after this miraculous thing happened, and finally the EMTs got there and they brushed me aside like I wasn't even there, and I thought, this is great. And I gave my accounts to the police officer and said, "Yeah, I saw everything. You went right through that red light, and I'll testify to it in court." And all of that happened. You know, it was all squared away. A few days later, I was thinking to myself, wow, now that I know there's two of me in here, at least, probably many more. The first question I asked myself was, how do I know which voice is speaking? But then I asked what I think is a better question. That I want. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't have to figure out which one's which in everyday life and just try to combine the two. I can just, when I need a higher presence, when I need a higher power, and I need Christ consciousness, why can't I just call that energy forth? You know, and Charles Fillmore talks about that in the 12 powers, right? Everybody's familiar with the 12 powers? So we have faith, and we have zeal, and we have will, and we have understanding, we have imagination, we have power, which is a spoken word, we have love, we have strength, we have divine order, we have wisdom, we have elimination, or life. Well, yeah, and the last one is life. But elimination, or the or is renunciation. So it depends on how you want to. And wisdom is like, anyway, judgment. So you have the 12 powers, and at any time you can call those forth. And it doesn't matter if you understand what they are. Just know that you can call them forth. You know, what got me across that street in that particular day might have been love, a combination of love, combination of will, combination of strength, and a combination of faith. All four of those could help get me across the road. I didn't know it at the time, but there was something working to get me on the other side of the road, right, to be with that lady. So I decided, well, then I can do this. So here's what I came up with. Now, don't call for the guys in the leather jackets yet, or the straight jackets, or whatever you call them. Just kind of bear with me a little bit. But I found a way to access what I call that higher self. And that higher self, I call it, I label it as a capital S. And my little self, my scared ego self, my frightened self, my inadequate self, I label as a little s. So when I do my journaling and my writing, I have a little s and a big S. Not all that important, just a little detail. So I have found through the course of my experience that journaling is a wonderful way to self-therapy, self-help. Anybody agree?
Yes.
You know, and there's all kinds of different kinds of journaling, right? There's journaling, just spontaneous writing. There's journaling where, you know, we want to slow down, so we write with our non-dominant hand and see what comes up. You know, there's journaling about specific categories like health or prosperity or relationships or careers. There's all kinds of different journaling. Well, this journaling, I call it self-talk. Because I want to talk to myself. I want to talk to my higher self, my bigger self.
Anybody think this will work?
Yes, absolutely.
So let me read you an example. The way I do it is I write a letter to my higher self. Okay? Sit right down and write yourself a letter, right? And it's in my own handwriting, so you can see, I didn't have it typed out on the thing. It wasn't pre-sequenced. This is just how it happened. This is just how the process happened for me. And I just thought I'd try it, and I thought I'd see how it worked. And so this is my little self talking to my big self, and I say, "Dear David, I'm concerned about how much I'm spending lately. It seems like I'm getting sucked into that rat race again. The more we earn, the more we spend, the more we spend, the more we need to earn, and round we go. I'm hoping you can help me." Simple, right? That's something anybody can do? Anybody right now, whatever's concerning them, whatever they're going through at the moment? Ooh, late. So the higher self, David, the big S, David, writes back. and sometimes you can just take a breath. You can just put yourself in that consciousness or awareness. You can say a prayer, whatever you want to do. But this didn't take me long at all. I think like about a minute. I think I might have shifted chairs or something and wrote my letter back. And it said this: "Dear David, first of all, I love you and appreciate you, and I know it takes a lot of courage to reach out when you're troubled. Please consider that your spending is probably a symptom of something else going on. We both know the immediate problem or issue is seldom what it appears to be. How are your relationships? What part of you may be afraid? Is there someone you need to forgive? Get quiet and reflect on what's going on in your life. See if you can identify what you're trying to avoid or deny. Write again if something comes up for you." Is that a good answer? Is that a good answer? I thought it was. I wrote it right. So here's the little self after a minute writing back. It's a higher self, all right? You call in the paddy wagon yet? And the little self says, "Thank you, David. As usual, you were right. I got quiet, and feelings came up that I really don't want to deal with. I've been noticing that I'm getting older, and I don't like it. I keep wondering how much time I have, how healthy I may be or may not be. It's making me feel temporary, insecure in my future. I haven't really thought much about this. I remember when I wasn't afraid to die, but I was afraid to live. Now, I'm no longer afraid to live, and I'm afraid that I'm afraid to die." Phew. That was the insight I got from that little conversation. But I let Big Self have the last word. And Big Self said this: "Wow, David, that's really some great work, great insights. I'm so proud of you. Now together, we can start to develop a plan so that you can start to deal with your fears. Knowing in your head that someday you'll be gone is one thing, but feeling the reality, and we go from our head to our heart, we feel the reality, we feel the emotions. It's two entirely different things. In the past, you have had great success letting your head affect your feelings. Now it's time to allow your feelings to influence your thoughts. Let's get a game plan now to see how we can work with our thoughts and our feelings to deal with your fears. We will include logic, affirmations, letting your feelings surface and tell you what they need from you the most. And most of all, you will need to continue to love. Love yourself no matter what. Is that a good technique or what? Is that something you think you can use in your everyday life? You know, we can spend hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars with therapies and books and all of this stuff, but, you know, a pad and a pen and a conscious awareness of what your intention is, that's all we really need. And I want to close by saying this. We just bought a beautiful piece of property. Beautiful piece of property. If we don't get in touch with that small self voice, that scared voice, we can make it difficult, this transition difficult. Now what I think we have a powerful message here, a powerful message of love, a powerful message of transformation, a powerful message of healing and forgiveness, a powerful message of a God that loves us and blesses us and wants the very best for us. I believe we have a powerful message, and I believe we can go over to this new space and create a legacy, not only for ourselves, but for our children and our grandchildren, for other people in the community, to attract more people, to bring this new thought idea, this positive thinking idea, into a bigger way of expression. I think we can do it.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes.
So this guy who wrote to, can I copy some of these notes? We're really blessed to have these two in our neighborhood. I mean, literally in our neighborhood, right across the street from David and me. So good. So I love this story of crossing that road. Oh my goodness. Crossing